A special task force has this week delivered its final report on how we can ensure the longevity of our aged care system. One of the recommendations from this report is making wealthier seniors pay for more from their own pocket for aged care. But is it enough to make the sector financially sustainable? Joining me now is one of the members of the Aged Care Task Force, Australian Retirement Trust Director, Janine Walker. Janine, great to see you.
Hello, Laura.
Is this one of the most important recommendations in your view?
Well, it's an important recommendation, Laura, but what's really important is the thinking behind the recommendation. The task force was concerned that our aged care funding system is opaque. It's really hard to understand. Talk to any of your friends who've a family moving into residential facility or applying for home care and receiving home care packages. It's really hard to understand what you're entitled to, what you're paying for, who's paying for what. So there was an underlying thinking that we need to make it very clear to people what they're paying and what they're getting for their money and who pays for what. Commonwealth pays for about 95% of home care, about 75% in residential care facilities, but it's still not totally clear to people when they pay money, what are they getting for it? So the basic proposition in the recommendations is that responsibility for care will remain overwhelmingly with government, as it always has. But the costs that you've always borne all of your life, your accommodation and your meals and those costs, well, they will remain with you, subject, of course, to safety nets in place. So when you say the wealthy will pay more, there will be choices, and as your personal assets are there, the recommendation is that there is less safety net or less support in those costs.
So
it's the thinking about making the system clear.
Yeah, would it be a tiered system, perhaps? Not, well, your assets would come into play.
Well, the family home, I think the Prime Minister has already said that the government's got a view that the family home is not coming to play, but the other resources that people have will come into consideration. Is there likely to be a tiered system? Well, one of the overarching concerns in the task force was to think about innovation in the system. How does the aged care system offer the range of options that we know the baby boomers will want? And I'm speaking, Laura, as a baby boomer. Baby boomers have changed the world at every stage of their lives. They're a very demanding lot, and they will come through with expectations, interests, wanting options, and we need innovation in the system. The system has to be financially sustainable if it's to offer innovation and options to people who are ageing. Most of us will want to age in place, at home, but we'll want options for how we do that, and we'll need to provide care for people with more complex health conditions as they age at home, because that's what they'll want to do. So a tiered system, well, options is the way I'd rather refer to it. But overwhelmingly, Laura, we need to make this system sustainable, because right now, particularly in the residential sector, and Grant Corduroy, who's also on the task force, has spoken to this, there are very significant losses that tell us that this system is not currently sustainable, let alone able to innovate and grow for the future, and for all of those baby boomers who are going to come along who will really want some very loud music and a whole lot of things going on.
Yes, of course. And the baby boomers who have worked hard their whole life and paid taxes. I mean, would be a fairly substantial change for them. But Janine, if you were in charge, how would you fix this? What's the first thing you would do?
The first thing I would do was make sure that the system was able to be navigated in a simple and straightforward way. Right now, there are many people, families, who need to engage brokers and consultants to assist them to work out where to go, what to do, what the entitlements are.
There's too many rorts in the system, essentially, if you need to get that kind of advice. And also, it's funded by the federal government, run by the state. Seems like a lot of tiers and a lot of complication that doesn't need to be there.
Well, there's some state contribution in some state operations. But in some areas, in regional areas, for example, because with another hat on, I chair a very large health service in Queensland. Many of my regional colleagues, we're a metropolitan health service, but many of my regional colleagues are supporting people who are ageing in their communities with really very difficult to see how the funding works for that. In the large health service I chair, Laura, the chief executive told me 2 days ago that we have the equivalent of 5.5 wards of people who are in our hospitals because there is no aged care place for them, or they're not able to be discharged home with the right care, or indeed some people are waiting NDIS placement. So we need to lift the capacity of the sector to both do more, innovate more, easier to navigate. One residential care manager said to me that when a person arrives in their residential facility, they care for the person who's coming to live in the facility, but they need to come and care for the family who are traumatised, not only by their age relative going into care, but traumatised by their interactions with the system, which is so complex. So we need to get it simple. When people pay money, and, it's not all of the baby boomer generation are coming through with large amounts of superannuation. Many are, but many are not. So we need to understand that there will be a range of assets, resources available. So we need to make good care available to all those people and options. And if people have resources, well, they can see clearly what investing additional resources will mean for them in terms of the care that they receive. Right now, it's pretty hard to understand that.
It certainly is. And our elders, our grandparents, our parents certainly deserve better. Janine Walker, great to see you.
Lovely to see you, Laura. Take care.